Here with Jason Nelson. Jason is one of the elders at Nidri, our newest elder. How long have you been an elder, Jason?
4 months.
And also you are the leader of our Nidri sort of team, outreach, evangelism.
Yeah.
What would you say?
The band pots, yeah.
With the band pots. Right, so you're from Wyoming. No one knows where that is and they don't care, but it just sounds funny. So I met an American once, answer me this, and in Africa, and he was an interesting character. He had about 9 kids. I'm not exaggerating.
That's pretty close to me.
And he also said, I'm like, man, I never thought about the snip or using protection, you know? Oh. He's like, deathly serious. Said, no, condoms are sinful, and it's akin to... It's pre-abortion abortion. That's his first point. And his second point then went on to talk about how Disney World is satanic. How Disney, full stop. So you're American, you're from Wyoming, you've got 800 children. So are you telling me that condoms are sinful and that Disney World is satanic?
So you would see that as an American...
Well, yeah, I mean, what I like to do when I meet an American is just assume that all Americans are the same.
Right. I do have a lot of kids, which, we just...
So you've got 5 kids, right?
I have 5 kids.
You just had your 5th kid, you're 64 years old. How's that working for you?
It's working well. That would be a very Roman Catholic viewpoint, wouldn't it? Like, that
no,
it
seemed, it's not even a joke. It is a... Yeah, oh, yeah, but it seems to be like... I've met a few on the mission field in Brazil. Maybe it was just that people were there, but very fundamentalist.
And you get that, too, like, in... some like more homeschool, which we homeschool as well. Like,
I mean, you've got all the danger signs.
I've got all the danger signs of being that. And then the Disney World thing. That's just
that is a very popular view. Again, when we were in the States and we were going to show the girls a Disney film, like all these parents were up in arms going, "Well."
That and Harry Potter, right? You get that.
I'm assuming so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are from a much different part of the United States. That's not as crazy.
So why are you cracking out kids like there's no tomorrow then?
Because we like having kids.
Even at your age, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you are cracking on now. Because Jason, look, how old are you? You're 21, aren't you, Jason?
I wish. I'm 36.
36.
Yeah.
We haven't seen proof of that, and so everybody's quite suspicious of that age, by the way.
Know.
Okay.
No, but listen, for me, with kids, let me tell you about...
Let me tell you about a quiver full of arrows that I have.
That's right. It is that.
So what you're saying is I've only got two little arrows.
Well, that is
full
quiver. That's your quiver, right?
Yeah.
I never thought I'd have 5 kids. Coach and I,
Just because you're so old looking.
Yeah, pretty much. For me, like as a first generation Christian in my family too, we thought, as we had our first 2 kids, we liked it. Liked having kids. Liked.
And to be fair to you, you have got very cute kids.
They're all right, and they're pretty well behaved too. Like, and how dare you?
It's hard to misbehave in a hazmat suit, right?
Yeah, it's true. We'll explain that later. I wanted, in my mind, I was like, wouldn't it be cool to? This is all in the Lord's hands anyway, but to start a generation where I can pass on the discipline and instruction to my kids, and that we would. See a next generation of hopefully believers that would continue this. But I mean, that's all in the Lord's hands because I don't know if any of my kids are gonna, walk with the Lord.
But when did you? Because you're married to Gretchen.
Yeah.
And when did you and Gretchen decide that you were going to raise your kids in a sterile bubble?
That's been a progression.
Only pumping in pure air without any germs.
My wife...
Who's going to watch this? I'm only doing this when you're not here, Gretchen, because when I see you, I will run away very fast.
My wife will batter you.
Oh, yeah, she will. Absolutely.
She does...
She's got a look that could fry an egg.
She does.
In its shell.
She has a resting face that could melt most people. And with that comes a protection of her kids that sometimes comes off as...
Do you all have hazmats, or how's the hazmat situation?
So it's like, I mean...
So explain to people the hazmat.
So the hazmat situation is my wife gets branded as a germaphobe, but she's really not.
Okay.
It's only because our last kid, his sleeping schedule was to where nobody would ever see him, so it just appeared. Okay, but I will say she is a little bit of a germaphobe. Let me just stop myself right there. She's a little bit of a germaphobe.
We love you, by the way, as Matt, and it is just
Yep.
a love name.
Yes, but that's.
So I think you've got 4 kids. You claim to have 5.
Mm-hmm. I have a picture.
To be fair,
Picture proof
you
that
did.
you held my last one.
I did. I saw him after 6 months.
Yes, you did.
At first, I thought she just put on a lot of weight, but it turns out there was a child.
There was a child in there.
wrapped up in there somewhere. Anyway, let's get off your children and your wife. We are really glad to have you here, even though you're American. Now, and let's have a bit of serious conversation. So, when I first started 20 Schemes, I got a lot of criticism from middle class people who were saying, "Oh, you're going to flood Scotland with Americans." Actually, you are today our only American couple that we've taken on originally to do some church planting with us. And you've been here how long?
1.5 years.
How have you found it, you and your family?
For us, I mean, we come from like a very rural, small town kind of America in the Midwest, and we have found it. I think you prepare for transition, like going to any culture, right? And we knew that from America to Scotland was going to be different, but then the other dynamic that we weren't necessarily knew anything about was the transition from more middle class to a deprived area. And so there's not, you know about it, but there's not much you can prepare for until you immerse yourself in the culture.
Yeah.
And I've been reflecting on that quite a bit because I feel like...
What's the most surprising thing been to you? For me, just so you know, for me, it's how quickly you fitted in.
Yeah.
Seamlessly, almost.
Yeah. I think that's a function of where we come from. It's different than some of the Americans that, because of our more rural context, I think we maybe fit in a little bit. Even though it's in a city, there's something about these communities that feels a little bit more like small town because the community,
yeah, stick together.
But so how we fit in is partly, I think, God's grace and goodness and confirmation that we're supposed to be here, that we fit in so well. But I think the other thing that was surprising was how a lot of the little things kind of add up to be kind of annoying, that you know they're there and you know you're going to run into them, but it's these little tiny things that kind of add up. Because we were looking, when people talk about culture shock and junk like that, we're like, I didn't know what that means, culture shock. But I think when we look back on it, it was just a combination of all these little things that kind of added up, and you find yourself on edge some days and you don't know why. And I think it's just these annoying little things like, why do you guys use a knife with every meal? It's a stupid thing, but like, we wouldn't do that. Or why do you say certain words?
We use a knife with every meal.
Yeah, don't you?
I don't know.
Use a knife for everything. We don't do that.
That's just weirded me out now.
Exactly.
But that's you being a weirdo.
Yeah.
That's not culture shock, right?
Yeah.
Name some other weird things.
Okay. Maybe not a weird thing, more of a... you want weird stuff?
No, I'm fascinated that you would... That's just the most bizarre thing I've
know.
ever heard. Like,
I don't know why that came
how that would
to mind.
irritate you. Like,
but, you know, like, everything's smaller. From America.
The house,
big.
particularly the house, right?
Particularly the house, you know, 5 kids. And,
we did our best for you, son. We did our best.
Hey, it's a blessing to have a roof over your head, but
it's small, yeah.
It's small. The roads are small, the cars are small, and so all of that.
Pastors?
The pastor, yeah.
Small.
And that's all a little bit. And then you are, because of living in a city and because of the schemes, you do feel like you're living in a fishbowl a little bit. And your community is here, your church family is here. I mean, 70% of our congregation lives within half a mile. And so you've got all these dynamics. And so when you're here and in that constantly every day, I think sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be draining, right?
Yeah.
And we don't notice it.
Yeah.
Because it's just life.
Right.
Look, when I came here 10 years ago, 0% of anybody lived in this community. And so that would have been a different kind of oddness. But it is an all-encompassing way of life.
Yeah. And then, you know, when you come and you see and you start living among them, and when we came over, one of the other surprising things to me, and what first was enlightening about this was that book, Poverty Safari, was the fact that people that, where we live in these deprived areas, my American mindset says everybody that lives where you don't have a lot of jobs or that there's poverty and drugs, that those people that live in those areas want to get out. That's what I would assume. It's the American dream. We all want to better ourselves and do things that are going to, make our lives and our families' lives better. And so you come into an area with that mindset and you're thinking that, and come to find out that that's not in their train of thought at all, because this is their home, this is their community.
Yeah.
And then to go even farther to say, if I try to better myself in whatever it is, I'm going to be an outcast in my family.
Right, yeah.
That was completely, I had no idea that was going to be something that we would see here. And now living here for a while, you absolutely see it. And it's just...
good thing, bad thing?
I think it's just, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think I appreciate that they value so much the sense of identity in their community, that's a good thing. That it's not so much this American individualistic culture, right? It's more of a community thing. So
it's UK middle class culture too, by the way.
Yeah. So I think in that respect it's good, but so I don't know if it's necessarily a negative or a positive. But
how's Gretchen found it?
I think her hardest thing has been the kids. Just
because you're homeschooling your kids, right?
We are, yeah.
Which is a very, very, very rare thing.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't happen. It's not that rare in England. If I know people, but I know very few people in Scotland who homeschool their kids.
The homeschooling part has still been great, and she gets on fine. I think it's more when you leave a place where the kids have had a lot of friends, particularly church friends, right, where they have some kids that they're comfortable hanging out with. For them to find not only friends that they can be with in the community or in the church. We don't have a lot, especially Parker and Andy's age, that are in Nidri. And then just, especially around Nidri, we found it a little bit more difficult for access to like kind of extracurricular things like sports that they would be into, that they would meet other friends, because all you play here is football, soccer, which we don't.
Well, there's very few services, but yeah, I mean, the younger ones are fine because there's like an absolute posse of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my girls, when we came, we had the same problem trying to join them to other churches, youth groups, and did lots of stuff early doors because there was just no young people here at all, their age. So that is a particular hardship for people who are thinking of coming over.
Yeah.
One of the big questions I always get asked is, what about my children? Will they be safe? What about their education?
I don't feel it. Yeah, and it was our question too.
And how would you answer that to someone now you've been in it for 18 months? Because I always laugh and say, well, it's not Beirut, it's not a war zone.
Exactly, I think.
People make it up in their mind to be a thing.
They do. And I don't think Gretchen and I have ever felt unsafe here, or that we're in an area that we have to... Now, we might take more precautions with our kids going out and doing certain things,
exactly, right? Yeah.
But I don't feel unsafe. And actually, that was one of my first convictions about praying about coming to 20 Schemes. Was we started praying about it, and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if that's right for my family. I don't know if it's a good fit. And I think it was an article you had written on the topic, and it's like it just convicted me that it's going to be fine if the Lord's leading us this way, right? And that family is definitely a consideration and will be for a lot that comes over, but ultimately...
Interesting thinking about the verses in Luke we were looking at last night in a Bible study about family.
Yeah.
Like we've elevated family here.
Yeah.
And then Jesus here.
Yeah.
Well, actually in Luke, Jesus says it's the complete opposite, right?
We make our family our idols a lot of the time,
yeah.
don't we? Especially our kids.
Yeah.
And so, we felt strongly about our call to come, and we knew that there would be hardships with our kids a little bit, and we're seeing some of that again with the lack of friends and things, but we keep reminding them that we're not here because Mom and Dad chose to be here, just because we wanted to be here. That
well, we were your last resort, right? Because, your number one job.
free church.
Didn't happen for you, did it, son?
No. That was God's providence as well,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was.
I mean, how he used that as a stepping stone for us. But when you talk about the kids in that situation, that would have been, I think we would have been in a much worse place. They had no kids.
Yeah.
The average
how
age was 75 years old, you know.
How have you found pastoral support for you and Gretchen?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Because a lot of pushback we get from people to make applications as well, you're all very rough and you talk very blunt, and just worried that we wouldn't be loved or cared for. What do you think about that? Which I don't think is true at all.
I don't either.
I think our hospitality is good.
I think that, yeah, if you latch onto some of the if you're not used to the banter's love. The banter is part of what, and I was somewhat used to that in my context back home anyway. So, but I think underneath that is a church community that loves, and we felt extremely supported when we came over, particularly at this church, and were very welcomed. And for quite a long time as we transitioned, because it's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
To bring a family over and to
Well, you were
transition.
coming to go somewhere else, right? But then you came, the family, Gretchen got pregnant, and we were thinking, maybe it's better for you to stay here for a few years.
Yeah.
With a stable, rather than throw you out into a scheming Glasgow with 6 old people and nobody. That would have been very crushing, I think.
When we look back to, you know, like you said, originally we thought, a year of training and then maybe go out. And that was what we told everybody when we came over, because that's what we all kind of had in our mind. But now being here for a year and a half, we wouldn't have been ready. We wouldn't have been ready.
And you could still go out, right? And,
right.
And land. But I think just with the nature, the age of the kids, we thought it was a safer move. Yeah. So what would you say to people from the States watching this, thinking they're thinking about it, they certainly feel like they've got a heart for Scotland, but they're unsure. What would you say to them in terms of applying the process? What advice would you give them?
Obviously, if it's, are you thinking more families, couples, or just anybody?
Any American? Just people from the States. I often get asked, often get asked by people in the UK, how do people in the schemes take people from America? And I always say, and people don't believe me, people in the States find it easier to be accepted and do ministry in the schemes than a middle-class Scot would. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
Just can't comprehend that. It's just there's something, middle-class Scottish or English people, when you say the words council estate or scheme, immediately jump somewhere into their mind where you guys don't have that cultural baggage. You've got other baggage, but you don't have that cultural baggage you're bringing with you. But what would you be saying to people who are thinking, is it for me? What about my children? Will we be cared for? What would ministry look like? What would you say to them?
I think one thing I would say is definitely count the cost. As far as, so I know we have our short-term people, which are great. We use them a lot, but especially if you're bringing a family over and you want to commit, like count the cost that you're going to come and commit, because this type of work is a long-term, as we're seeing more and more, like that this is not a couple-year kind of thing in your commitment there. And I can say from an American perspective, sometimes we fantasize about Scotland a little bit.
Oh yeah, castles and golf.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so like, that's exciting. They're like, oh cool, Scotland, I'm going to be a missionary in Scotland, right? And like, Gretchen and I, we didn't have the fantasy at all just because we were considering bringing our family long term. I don't feel like we ever, but you can easily buy into that, I think, as an American. So you've got to watch your heart with that. And I think that people can be assured that they will be well cared for. I know that some Americans have struggled, especially some of the single ones that have come, unsure how to fit in and things. But I think it's a two-way street too, isn't it? Like, it's there for you, and people are loving, but if you also close yourself off to people and being part of the community immediately, you're just asking to have some really, really difficult times as soon as you get here. And I've seen that from some of the Americans, but I think flexibility is another huge one. If you're really rigid and you want things to be exactly how you think it's supposed to be in your mind, especially coming over here, your expectations are going to be shattered. You got to be
How have you
flexible.
handled this all pervasiveness, kept your sanity in your family? We live in a culture now that's very obsessed with, well, ministry, family, but we sort of blur that divide. How have you kept your sanity in that? Or have you not quite worked out that balance
It
yet?
took a while to start with. That was one of our somewhat early struggles a little bit as Gretchen and I were navigating me, because it's busy here, right? I think, well,
Yeah.
to you it's just normal for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
right?
But I appreciate that it's busy. If you say it's busy, it's definitely busy.
It is.
It's weird when you think about it. It's not like there's like 77 meetings. It's just
Right.
it's just cycle of life, right? It's a strange
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and it might just be where we're at in our life too. It just feels busy with 5 kids.
No,
and
but we have to
whatnot.
take people's issues with that seriously.
Yeah, yeah,
The number one thing that people say when they come here for a short-term internship or anything is, I didn't realise I'd be so tired all the time. And we're like thinking, we didn't even give you a program. You know, we sort of
yeah.
protected you from a lot of things, which
Like-
is obviously
right.
made us reevaluate.
Right.
Like, well, let's be sure we're not killing people for the sake of.
Well, and I appreciated you saying that early on. Like, yeah, you're going to be busy, but you have to protect. You guys are really good about making sure we protect our family time,
Yes.
protect our marriages, and I think it took me a while to know how to do that well here. Well, as the lines are
Yeah,
blurred
yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit, you know what I mean?
But I always say to people, particularly, don't try to keep up with me.
Yeah. No.
Just don't do it. Don't come in with this. Oh, everyone's doing this. We have to be. We're all different. Our family structures are different. You know, I've got 2 grown-up girls. You've got a young family. It's a completely different
Yeah.
world.
And I think that was my temptation when we came, as I wanted to.
It's everybody.
I saw you, I saw Andy, and I was like, well,
They
I
want to
wanna
impress, right? You
Yeah,
went like, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And pretty soon I was, telling Andy and probably you that just like, I might have to drop something at night I need another night home.
Yeah.
Struggling a little bit with family
And then
time.
immediately we took action.
Yeah.
I think the point you made there is good, particularly Americans. They're like, they don't seem to talk to you. The first time you hear there's a problem, they're having a nervous breakdown. We're like, why didn't you tell us this weeks ago? We would have just ended that and that and that and that.
Yep.
So it's good.
Yep.
Any other things before we go that you would give advice for people thinking about coming to work with 20 schemes that would be helpful for them?
Not really.
Right
We
then.
need more people.
We do. So the important question, and we'll leave with this. Bernie or Donald?
Donald.
Wow. Can I just apologise to my one viewer?
Keep America great, son.
Oh. Right, let me ask you this question now, because you've answered it wrongly. Americans are often freaked out when I reveal that I am a socialist. And then they're like, it's unbiblical. I mean, they go ranting about how unbiblical it is, yet we see it as a biblical, just as, all joking aside, left and right, we don't see socialism some sort of mad communist, atheist nonsense.
Right.
Is that because the word means different things culturally, do you think, for you guys?
I think it definitely could, yeah, because they think they go. I think when you hear the word socialism, they go off the deep end into thinking what it's going to be in the places.
So you
that
understand
it's failed.
when we
Yeah,
say socialism, right?
yeah.
We want to work for the poor where we can,
Mm-hmm.
equality. We want, communities should work together for the good, not survival of the fittest and the
Sure.
richest.
Sure.
the richest win at all costs, which is what happens.
And it's been really helpful for somebody who grows up in a very red state,
Yeah.
super conservative, to be able to come and do ministry alongside people that do politically, maybe just on governmental stuff, see things differently and see their heart for it. It definitely helps you give a better worldview of what's out there, and not
As
just
we
this-
watch the car crash that is America. I mean, I love watching the politics, American politics.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow. Sometimes I think, and then I see Christians commenting like, well, if you're a Democrat, are you even saved? And then, okay, you're pro-abortion, you're this and that, and then others firing in, well, if you're a Republican, are you even saved?
Right.
And you back this guy who's like,
They go. It's
you're just like, wow, guys.
America's extremely polarized right now in
Well,
politics.
and
So is
so is
Britain.
the UK.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
Bernie sounds like Jeremy Corbyn on steroids, and we all know that how it went for him.
Right.
Do you think Bernie will win?
No,
You think Donald's in for another shot? Do you?
I do.
Okay.
But hey, I'm here right now.
No, but it still affects everything.
Oh, it
doesn't
does, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you very much.